following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader.
Oh my God.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
I love you, but I don't think I can love you anymore.
When I kiss you so good, why would you wanna break up?
Gucci,
Loving you so good, why would you wanna
Sean
break
Garrett,
up?
the pimp.
That's so good, why would you wanna break up?
Gucci.
This feeling is so good, why would you wanna
We
break
going
up?
on.
Loving you, loving you, loving you, when I'm loving you, why would you wanna break up? Why would you wanna break up? Say how we driving through your hood, why would you wanna break
Now
up?
baby girl that don't she no longer wants me. I'm no longer hired. She say that I've been fired. On to the next one. More fish in the sea. Girls are like buses. This one, next 15, one coming. Gucci man crazy and his ice game stunning. Swag so stupid, still the straight talk. Over. No more smoking. Baby girl, when
You
they
were locked
walk,
into
she used to
hour
be my
3
soul.
of RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, this is the after hour where we get a little looser. We get into some topics that might be a little salacious for the earlier hours or not. You know, we just like to build it up for you. Listen, that Mario song was the joint, right? And Gucci was flowing on that one. That was my jam. Love you. Anyway, shout out to Mario. He did his thing at that Versus. Thinking back, he was the only one that had maintained that voice. I mean, what was it? Ray J. I love Ray J to death, so I'm gonna support Ray J with whatever he does. That's just the thing. But the voice wasn't there that night.
Yeah, the most ratchetest Versus. I was so disappointed.
What did you want to see? What would you have wanted to see to make it more?
I didn't like the ratchetness coming from Pleasure P. I didn't like, especially Sammy. Sammy was the one I was kind of quite surprised. He definitely wasn't the young kid singing at the Apollo anymore. You know, he was grown. He was just like
this wasn't the one where Omarion was eating the watermelon, was it?
That was Omarion versus Mario.
Okay.
The RSVP. That I want to say it was like 2 versus 2 maybe, or it might have been. I don't know what it was, but
their RSVP can't compete with this RSVP. But shout out to them though.
And I rock with Mario. I
do too.
He tried to flex on Omarion that day, and I ain't gonna front. He did kind of flex on Omarion.
His voice was working that day. His mic was on. That is the thing that he had over most of the other individuals. I don't know if they were too much one with the earth, you know, and they got their herbal blessings on, but
that's
the
probably
voice
played a factor into it for sure.
The voices were not game ready. They
At
were
all.
not ready for prime time
at all.
You know, but shout out to them. I still appreciate the joints and jams from them and the memories that they gave.
And it was circumstances like that made me wish that Versus kind of went back to how they started off. You know what I'm saying? Go back on IG Live and just play your records. You don't need to perform.
You just want the old school way, just storytelling and just a solid thing.
Like Teddy
We
Riley.
don't need the concert.
Yeah, Teddy Riley, that's what messed everything up in the jump. You know what I mean? He over here got the whole performance going on, and Babyface was just smooth in the studio. He had his glass of wine. Like, come on, like the performances, although I understand the business aspect of it, you know what I'm saying? You open up a venue, they could perform, this, that, and the third. You're making money. But once again, it took away from the essence of how Versus was.
I mean, I do think, to your point, that the storytelling aspect stepped away when the live performance side was kicked off. Getting to hear some of those stories, those recollections of studio time or how things came together or who the song used to be, I think that is one of the things that we love the most. Obviously, the pandemic had us all inside the house at that time, locked in, but I think that was the essence of Versus. You know, they just went away. We were supposed to get a Diddy and JD concert in September. Nobody said anything. They just moved around.
Well, they sold it, right?
But they had sold it before they had announced that. Do you know what I'm saying? They sold it, but they were still in partnership with Triller or whatever the case may be. But then there was some, I think, legal aspects that came together because they were unhappy with certain aspects that Triller was bringing in.
Shouldn't have sold it in the first place. But I get it though. You know?
I think it's a catch-22 because I think that they wanted to, as much as we, reminisce about the early days of Versus, Instagram cutting off in the middle of the things, or sometimes some of their sound quality, we don't miss those issues. That, for some, like, think about who was it that had terrible sound? Was it
Nelly.
The Dream? Nelly had really bad one. I feel like The Dream and...
Don't even remember that Versus with The Dream.
It was like The Dream and Lil Jon or something random like that. Like a couple of random pairings. But this was the early time.
Yeah, Teddy Riley and Nelly for sure stand out to me with issues.
Terrible audio thing. But, it was fun. I guess that time is done. It happens, so keep it moving.
Damn it, Swiss.
You said what?
I said, damn it, Swiss.
Swiss and Timbaland. Now Timbaland's just talking about Britney needs a muzzle. I felt like that was a bit far, Tim. Like, I get it, but the thing that I don't understand with that, when people get so upset, and like even Rick Ross was like, why is Jada still talking? And Stephen A is still talking about Jada, saying that the women should be coming up and rallying against Jada. Hey, you want to tell your stories and give your opinion. Why are you mad at somebody else doing the exact same thing? You have a choice in this. You could not pay attention. You could not tap in. But that seems too easy, right? Too much like right. So yeah, speaking of making a right choice and a right decision, one thing that we will never say about Lori Harvey is that she is not afraid to get the buck on and move on to the next dude, the next situation. And I love that for her, because so many times we always hear about women being heartbroken and not over the next man, and we see the men go on and they get this beautiful new woman, and the women are supposed to be there in the background, sad, crying, never to recover. Not Miss Lori Harvey. Miss Girl keeps it moving. I also felt like this relationship, and this might be mean to say, I don't really mean this, but I felt like it was a little not to the caliber that we are used to with Lori. They didn't seem as connected as you would like to see in a relationship with them. And this is someone who didn't think that the relationship with Michael B. Jordan was real either. So I don't know. I'm not sorry to see them go. I am. If anybody's hurt, we don't want to see that, blah, 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 blah. That's not me brushing it off. I'm just saying we don't really know any details. Andy?
How long were they dating?
A year.
They were just smashing. That wasn't a relationship. Let's stop it. Lori Harvey is having a good time. Salute to you. She just smashing, and that's dope.
And Damson wanted to raise his social value. At least that's what I think. When we come forward, we will get into their joint statement, plus other trending topics and headlines. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. Environmental justice, pollution, and climate. In Los Angeles and across America, people of color are suffering and dying from disproportionate health impacts on a planet that has less than 10 years to prevent irreversible damage. Heat illnesses, respiratory illnesses, water-related illnesses, food system impacts, insect-related diseases, black maternal health, and mental health effects. As the impacts of climate change mount, millions of vulnerable people, our people, are going to bear the brunt of these extreme environmental events, which will likely lead to forced displacement, loss of cultural identity, and other related risks. These realities are as real as rain. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details about the most progressive multimedia and live events campaign any black media outlet has ever undertaken to combat the climate catastrophe. Experts, events, empowerment, It's all on the way from unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We don't black down. We level up.
Level up, 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 level up.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. I was able to speak with one of the panelists, the owner of Kids Love. Take a listen.
So Kids Love, KIDS-LUV, is a first-to-market zero-sugar, vitamin-enhanced functional beverage for kids.
So the zero sugar is really important because if not, the sugar gets on the teeth, it can cause cavities. So as a mom, I love this vitamins and hydration in one. Tell us what's happening here with Chase Bank today.
So I would say, I think what Chase is trying to do is create a community, actually, for entrepreneurs, a place where people can go. They have the space to do it. It's a beautiful space. And to be able to have these conversations. There are so many benefits to being a women-owned and certified business, from a standpoint of getting into stores, not paying the slotting fees of what it takes to be in stores. So I think Chase is trying to bring awareness to a lot of the things that people just don't know about, that not only the bank can help, but outside of the bank, their relationships can help create.
That's beautiful. And I know, this is how we build equity in communities of color, is kind of spreading that information and that knowledge. So thank you for being here today and doing your part and letting these women know that it is possible.
For KBLA 1580, I'm Maisha Cairo in the community with Chase.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So Andy and I were just having a debate about Lori Harvey and if she is wife material. And Andy, not saying it with no shade, he was just saying that she doesn't present herself as someone who wants to settle down. So he would not advise any man that was thinking about dating her to take her seriously. And I feel like that is unfair. What do you mean? They are both dating, so he has to do something to be taken seriously as well. Andy.
I'm sorry. Like, what was the space in between? What's my man, Michael B. Jordan and Damson? What was the space in between that?
How much?
Not much, exactly.
What does that exactly mean?
She's just trying to have a good time.
So how many men are really out there? How many of these celebrity when you see they are already in the new relationship when you find out that things are broken up? You see them, they're like booed up out there with chick 2B, and the women are like,
You got to give me some examples. But as far as dudes, though, the stereotype about men settling down we already know that. Right. So I'm just saying, I just think Lori Harvey's name is kind of, it seems as if like her name is propped up. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's top billing when it comes to female celebrities. So, when, somebody gets with her, it's major big news. And I feel like all she's shown me is that she's here for a good time, which there's nothing wrong with that. I just think for some of the dudes, I brought up Michael B. Jordan. You kind of pushed back on that. It felt like this dude was in love. Every picture, every video you saw, he was over here cheesing. You could see all his teeth. He was looking like Nelly with Ashanti the other day. You feel me? And then when they got broken up and he was over there at the Warriors game and they introduced him, he just looked like a sad puppy.
I feel like he was doing that because, well, I shouldn't say this.
Go ahead, say it.
So I think that at that time there was a lot of conversation around our Black leading men and who they were dating, and if Black women should be supporting these men and pouring into them when they were not dealing with Black women outside of their work, but utilizing them to build their career. That was some of the sentiment that you would read, right? And I think with Michael B. Jordan, also see what's my guy's name that was Lawrence on Insecure? Jay Ellis, right? Tay Diggs at one time. I think that when you are sort of put in the position as a black man and romantic lead, black women, we apply pressure. We apply pressure as fans. We like to see our leading men with women that are reflective of us, right? And when it does not, and it seems to be a pattern, some of us start feeling used, and it causes a reaction where it's a lot of conversation. I think that if you were to have a quiet conversation with some of these men, they would talk about some of the pressure that comes from having black female fans and how they react to these black leading men who like to love everybody. Like, you look at a film like The Best Man, right? And the sequels. We love that film. We love those actors and actresses in it. But at one point in time, save Morris Chestnut, all the leading men in that film were with women that were others, right? In the grand scheme of things, is it that big of a deal? No. But when black women feel they are pushing back against negative representation and being used as a mule, and then once you get to the promised land and things get nice, like Kanye said, you're going to get on and leave, for a white girl, blah, 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 blah. All of those things, right? Now, whether you agree with that or not, if that is happening or is the case, certainly you can agree that as a black leading man, there's a lot of pressure if your girlfriend happens to be something else. Look how Jay Ellis held his, kept his wife away from the public for a large amount of time. We saw Jonathan Major. He kind of kept his chick tucked, right, before this incident.
And based off of what you're saying, Jonathan Majors and Megan Good ain't gonna last either.
They might not. I mean, we'll have to see. I think it is a precarious role. It's hard when you see, I think what you see, the transformation from the 90s and 2000s, where we consider the golden age, so to speak, of black cinema and black TV shows and black love and hip hop. As hip hop rose, we saw, black women not be the lead as much, and video girls and love interests, and then, just the things that happen. And then you got the Lil Waynes, that chick look better, she's red and foreign and all of that stuff. I think it takes a toll, and so it caused an overcorrection, which sometimes I feel like caused certain black actors to move differently in their love life because their career kind of depended on it.
So Michael B. Jordan never truly loved Lori Harvey.
I'm not saying that. I don't know. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? I cannot say that for her. And here's the thing, much like I think that there are situations where you could say, this would be good for me career-wise. That doesn't mean that it's not enjoyable to do as well, right? So I do think that at that time when they linked up, there's no way that I can say this is 100% fact. This is just my gut feeling. I feel that he was looking to date a black woman because he was getting a lot of slack. Do you know the type of things that fans were doing? He was on vacation. He was dating a chick that was kind of an influencer. She was Instagram popular, not black. And they went on vacation. Do you know fans found, like, based off of the detective work of stuff she was posting on social media, she did not post anything with him or anything like that. They figured out what hotel she was staying at, called her hotel room, and, they were together. He answered the phone, but the hotel room was under her name, and started grilling him and playing on the phone. They were out of the country. Do you know this ended up on the internet? So I can't say that I don't, on one hand, sort of understand at times, when actors make the adjustment for that, or they see the benefit in getting in a PR relationship because it makes them look more desirable, because it makes them look more stable, because it gives more runway and more conversation for things to discuss across social media. They happen. It's a
Michael
real
B.
thing.
Jordan didn't need no PR move in that regard. I get there probably was a line full of black women that probably, would have loved to have dated him or whatnot, but I don't know. I don't know if I could just if I could buy that it was a PR thing for him. I think he actually was digging Lori Harvey.
I think he probably started to, he's what, they're about 10-year age difference. So people forget Lori Harvey's pretty young. She just turned 25 or 26, right? So to me, the idea that people are so like, oh my God, she's so wild. She doesn't want to settle down. At 25 years old,
Yeah, she's
I
young.
was not thinking about marriage at all.
I guess for me, man, I kind of feel like Stephen A. a little bit, where he talked about how, his current situation. I mean, you're not gonna know who Mrs. Smith is until she's Mrs. Smith,
Right.
and I just felt like us as the consumers, we're so gassed up on who Lori Harvey is dating, and I don't know. I don't know. It's not a good look for me. What I enjoy seeing is Nelly and Ashanti together for some reason, and I could be all the way wrong, but it looks like I can see them actually eloping and actually, getting married. That's dope to me. But if Lori Harvey is young and she just out here dating, like, do we have to acknowledge who she's hooking up with and who she's breaking up with? I get it. She's a celebrity. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about it. I get it, but it's just like, who cares, man? I mean, I don't care.
I feel you, Andy. I understand. Well, really quickly, their statement was, they released it to the Hollywood Reporter, but we told you, the internet told you, I told y'all what had happened when the pictures started disappearing off of Instagram and the unfollows happened. But this is the statement they released to the Hollywood Reporter. We are at a point in our lives where our individual paths require our full attention and dedication. We part ways, remaining friends with nothing but love and respect for each other and the time we shared together. Aw, the end. So that's that. Anyway, we got a lot of basketball relationship stuff to talk about. We're going to get into Basketball Wives and Royce Reed, who was a part of the original cast when Basketball Wives first launched, I believe in 2010 in Miami. She was a former Orlando Magic and Miami Heat dancer who had hooked up with Dwight Howard and had a son together. And with all of the conversation surrounding Dwight, Royce sat down with reality TV producer Carlos King and got into some things and revealed some things. One, in relation to some things people were wondering about the early time of Basketball Wives, but also, talked a little bit about her relationship with Dwight. I'm going to cliff note that for you when we come forward. You should still check it out and support Carlos. But yeah, I'm going to cliff note that. But before we get into that, one Basketball Wives alumni, British Williams, her lawyer got on TikTok to drag her following her case. British was accused and convicted of some pretty serious charges, Fed time, regarding, identity stealing, fraud, etc. She had an online boutique, and I guess she was not operating above board, got caught up, took some of that PPP money during the pandemic, and she is going to jail. Well, her lawyer's interviewing, and he said that she's a low-level reality star who wouldn't take accountability for her actions. She was just one of those clients that wouldn't listen to me. So we're going to play his comments, but I think that it is egregious that a lawyer, regardless if you felt that way, regardless if you guys lost the case, it's not like British Williams is a high-profile person. Why would you go online and expose different aspects of your client's case? How does that build trust for the next client? I mean, I know she's not a client no more, but it almost gives off the fact that I felt like, and here's the thing, I think and have thought that British was guilty just by the setup of stuff. I don't, she was wrong taking those people's identity money, and she does deserve time. But I do not feel like, where is the discretion? Where is the attorney-client privilege? I don't know. Your lawyer going on TikTok to sell you down the river so soon after a conviction just feels a little dirty. Andy?
Number one, she's not a client of his anymore. That's one. Number two, I don't even know who British Williams is. Like, I really don't know who she is. But just based off of this clip, and I understand, where you feel like it might be egregious, but the only thing that I could assume is that maybe she was extremely disrespectful to him. And considering her crimes, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that he was going to go ahead and defend her.
You think it falls in line?
100%. 100%. Like, this is your get back. Come on now. Don't like he's trying to not have you go to jail. But yet you don't want to listen to him for whatever reason.
So let's listen to what the lawyer had to say about the situation.
British Williams was sentenced to 4 years in prison yesterday in federal court in St. Louis. British Williams was a low-level reality TV star. She was on Basketball Wives and Couples Rehab or Therapy or something like that. A couple of low-level shows like that. I initially represented her on the case. Unfortunately, she was just one of those clients that she wouldn't listen to me. She wouldn't understand strategy that I was talking to her about for her case, just things that are best practices when on pretrial release in federal court and when any case is pending. And eventually, we chose to not continue the representation. I went my way and she went her way, and she hired another attorney out of Chicago. The 4-year sentence for her yesterday is getting absolutely hammered for a first offense white-collar case, especially in front of that judge. Great sentencing judge, great judge overall. But really, this is what happens when you don't listen to your lawyer, when you don't want to kind of change your ways, take responsibility when you have a case pending, especially in federal court. And I believe that that's entirely.
So I believe him that she probably didn't listen. But at the same time, I would not want a lawyer that is going to follow back around and like, yep, and you deserve that too. I don't know. That just seems a little unprofessional to me in the legal profession. You got to have a code, man.
Don't be disrespectful to your lawyers. That's all I'm going to say.
I agree with that too.
That's it. And they're not legally bonded to each other anymore.
I understand that, but a man's got to have a code.
Oh, no. I think it was petty versus petty. That's what that was.
I can see that. Well, when we come forward, we're going to get into Royce Reed and her saying that Shaq wouldn't leave her alone and how she told Shawnee that she's really the creator of the Basketball Wives franchise. Plus, a little more. All of that and more. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is on the other side.
I love you. Oh, loving you, loving you, loving you. When I'm loving you, loving you. Why would you wanna break up? Why would you wanna break up? See how we driving through your hood. Why would you wanna break up? Loving you, loving you, loving you. When I'm loving you, loving you. Why would you wanna break up?
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Dozens of protesters crowded the Decatur City Council meeting to demand a change in leadership. This comes as many expressed frustrations about the lack of transparency in the fatal officer-involved shooting of Stephen Perkins last month. Decatur Mayor Tab Bowling was noticeably absent from the meeting for the second consecutive week. Civil rights groups led by the North Alabama chapter of the NAACP have called for his resignation. Officials at financially troubled Birmingham Southern College are reporting a recent influx of private donations, raising enough funds to keep the school open through the spring semester of 2024. This comes as Republican Congressman Robert Adderholt announced that he's joining forces with Black Democratic Representative Terry Sewell to try and drum up more support for BSC. In a statement released, both lawmakers said keeping the school open and helping it to achieve financial stability is what's best for Alabama. That's the latest. I'm Amber Payton on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Following the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Join LA Civil Rights and the Reparations Advisory Commission's Black Experience Study live this fall. Learn about the city's plans for reparations and join the study in real time. For more information and to register, visit laisforeveryone.com today.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Your floors can go from clean to dirty fast. From juice spills, whoops, to muddy paw prints, to little sticky finger marks. Good thing your Swiffer Wet Jet works fast too. Swiffer Wet Jet easily cleans everyday messes as quick as they happen. The next mess is right around the corner. So grab your Swiffer Wet Jet and just spray, push, all clean.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
Anyone can choose to make a difference. You can help people succeed, rebuild after disasters, protect the environment, or feed the hungry. Not only will you make a difference for others, but for yourself. You can earn money for college, learn career skills, and make friendships that last a lifetime. Make a difference. Choose your future. Choose America.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. Creating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happening in R&B is that it's no more R&B groups. Love a good R&B group, you know? Think about all the groups we had in the 90s. Next, Jagged Edge, 112, Boys to Men, Drew Hill. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of others, but, you know, we don't really have that anymore.
Dudes don't truly want to sing anymore because it's corny.
They can rap and give that emotional thing, still get the same type of chicks.
Nobody wants to sing from their diaphragm, though. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to, bellyache and pronounce they love. So
they just want to say they're depressed. They,
basically
drinking out of a cup,
yep.
And they going to run through these so-and-sos to deal with the pain.
We got a generation full of users.
Man, from the dealer to the user.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
I'm sure, I know, because I've heard it referenced, but where's the documentary on that? Do you know what I think it also coincides with? And some people might get mad at me. I feel like when we, and when I say we, I mean our urban stars, our black stars, started embracing more of the rock style lifestyle, that type of mentality and thing, I feel like because you're exposed to a different type of life, a different type of living and thought process along with that, I feel like that was brought back to the black community, and using drugs became acceptable in a different type of way. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just kind of my thought about it. You think about the rise of, where rappers, not just numbers wise, were doing what used to be rock or pop numbers, but when they really started actively going for living that type of lifestyle,
And think about it. You could go ahead and say Lil Wayne was at the top of that list.
Facts.
And then they had songs, what was it, the Shop Boys or whatever, Party Like a Rock Star.
Yep.
So strong point.
And, during that time, Perp was coming up, 2 styrofoam cups or whatever. So it was like their own version of that. You think about like the metal bands of like the late 70s, early 80s. And, a lot of Jack Daniels, a lot of things like that. But there are a lot of parallels between the rock movement and the hip hop movement as far as the rebellious nature of it, how the generation above them looked at them, and the type of music that they were producing, the women, how the women were followed and idolized and notarized. Again, this is old school. This was the 70s, 1972. But I wish I could remember. I'm blanking on the name of the magazine. But there is a whole magazine that was put out. We talk about Instagram. We talk about people looking up to the rappers, babies, mamas, and what is that? In 1972, what is the name of the magazine? But it focused on the groupies that followed around these rock acts. These girls were like 13, 14 years old. And it talked about them, sneaking out, how they would sneak into some of these clubs. They followed them for years. And fast forward to 2023, some of them have gone back and sued some of these men that were around then. You've heard about suits from Steven Tyler, who was in Aerosmith. I think even David Bowie was accused of some things. I mean, it's kind of been across the board. However, saying that to say, I think that there is a lot of parallels between those movements and the alcohol, drugs, and money, and just that wild factor. Look at if you look at, I don't know how many people did, but that Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson movie that was on Hulu about their sex tape and things like that. Just look at how they were living and how they were conducting their life. It really looks like what rap stars do or have been talking about for the past 20 years. Anyway, those are just my thoughts. Andy, did you have more to add? Okay. So listen, I mentioned Basketball Wives, right? And Royce Reed. Royce is the mother of Dwight Howard's oldest son. And there's a lot with that, but we won't get into that right now. But in a recent interview with Carlos King, Carlos is a reality TV producer. He produced on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. He also created R&B Divas. I think he is also responsible for the Love and Marriage Huntsville show, a couple of other things. But what he's been doing lately is interviewing some of your favorite reality stars. And he interviewed Royce. Obviously, Dwight has been in the news a lot lately. A few weeks before all of these, things came out surrounding Dwight, Royce, and again, they've always had a contentious relationship and have battled each other very publicly through social media. Talked again about how she knew that something was going to be coming out about Dwight soon and just watch and see, and how during the pandemic she, for her son's sake, went and moved in with him, and that he was on some deviant stuff, blah, 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 blah. But, Royce's early years, part of the reason why she was on Basketball Wives is that, yeah, Dwight was her baby's father, but, I think this might have a little bit, in addition to Dwight calling himself Superman and being in Orlando, this might explain some of Shaq's beef with Dwight Howard too, because Royce definitely was turning down Shaq, but she was picking up what Dwight was talking about. And this was happening at the same time. This was somewhere between 2004, 2006. And ask me how I know, it's not Basketball Wives and it's not this interview. Royce is a lot of things, but she's not a liar. Anyway, let's listen. Yeah, about Shaq. So let's listen to her commentary about what happened with Shaq and how he was pursuing her, and then the end result of what happened when she ended up on Basketball Wives and shared that information with his now ex-wife, Shawnee.
I tried to confide in her during filming.
Yeah.
And even with that, I realized I couldn't trust her, because prior to the show even starting, I had sent her a thread of where her ex-husband, had been texting me, and nothing ever happened. He actually cursed me out because I wouldn't talk to him, but I wanted everything to be out in the open. I wanted her to see everything, so if anything ever happened or was said, she knew it wasn't true.
So while Shawnee was married to Shaq, Shaq was texting you flirty messages.
Yes, but this was when I was dancing. So,
as a cheerleader.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it came down to how he get your number, and he had gotten it from one of the ball boys, right? Had the ball boy get my number because we used to all go out and hang at parties. Like, we were cool.
What I will say is that I don't know if that's exactly the right story about how Shaq got her number. But when we come forward, I'll get into more of my thoughts because, there's not really enough time. But I don't know. Like, Royce doesn't lie, but I think she might be misspeaking on this topic. We'll get into that on the other side. You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy holidays, foodies! Les Affairs is your local Black-owned event planning and catering service you can trust to provide a Thanksgiving free of the holiday scaries. Find us at lesaffairsevents.com. No grocery shopping in this haunting economy, laboring over a burning stove or battling the boogeyman, the dishes. Spooky season's over. Let Les Affairs cater your feast. Order from our selection of meats and sides delivered Thanksgiving Eve. Next day, heat, eat, and enjoy. Learn more at lesaffairsevents.com or Instagram at lesaffairsevents, LESAFFAIRESEVENTS. Bon appetit.
Thinking about hosting a podcast and don't know where to start? Morris Media Studios has you covered. We're a professional podcast and voiceover studio located in Leimert Park. We specialize in recording and live streaming audio and video podcasts. Let us help you set up, record, and distribute your podcast. Hosting a podcast is a great way to bring awareness to your business, product, or good cause. For more info, visit morrismediastudios.com or give us a call at 323-815-4204.
Nissan has a car for every driver who wants more. More action. More fun. More guts. More head turns. More adventure. More electric. At Nissan, more is all we do.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment. LA's 99 neighborhood councils form the grassroots level of the Los Angeles city government. The system was created to connect LA's diverse communities to City Hall. While neighborhood council board members are volunteers, they are also public officials elected to office by the members of their community. Neighborhood councils advocate on issues like homelessness, housing, land use, emergency preparedness, public safety, parks, transportation, and sustainability. They also provide local expertise on the delivery of city services to their various communities. Neighborhood councils are open to participation by anyone who is a part of the fabric of daily life in said community. This includes those who live, work, or own property or a business. If you are interested in stepping up to join your local neighborhood council, visit www.empowerla.org. That's empowerla.org. It's time to think globally, but act locally. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So listen, this is the thing. Royce was a cheerleader, dancer with the Orlando Magic, and then she switched over to the Miami Heat, right? So sure, maybe the ball boy gave Shaq her number. Fine. This was during the sidekick days, by the way. So it's not like he was actually calling her. He was sidekicking her. Again, I know this to be true. I know this to be facts. She's not lying about that. And she was in pursuit of him. And Shaq is like a big 4-year-old, at least at the time, sometimes. And, you know, he probably was in pursuit. But sometimes I think, you know, it's a conversation we had earlier. It's competition. It's the sport thing. I'm not saying he didn't want her, but I do think that, you know, sometimes the sport of it all, the competitive side, I do think gets into these guys. At any rate, you know, as these clips have been rolling out, everybody's on social media now and they can see it like everybody else. Shaq did jump in the comments. Now, what he did not do, he didn't call Royce a liar. He didn't say it wasn't true. But what he did say is, looks like somebody needs some money. And that could be factual. But the important distinction of this story, he did not say it wasn't untrue. So Royce then went on to describe how she is actually the one that pitched the series Basketball Wives to begin with. She doesn't say how she and Shawnee were brought together, whether the producer that she pitched the show to put them together, but I am curious. They were in the same city because initially, the way that I was told, and I have someone who I am friendly with or friends with who was part of this initial group. When Shawnee pitched her Basketball Wives, or the initial thing, it was all Miami Heat wives. Obviously, we saw the show evolved and it had a Miami connection. But initially, all the wives were members of the Miami Heat organization, specifically that '06 championship team. But the Miami Heat was not on board with this show happening and did not want the players to participate and encourage them to tell their mates not to participate as well. You know, Pat Riley's the Don, the Godfather. So there were different women involved, different ones pulled out. And if you notice on those early seasons of Basketball Wives, they never said the team name. That's IP. So they weren't allowed to, because it was depicting, so the NBA felt, these teams in their a negative light, not the type of attention they wanted for them. So they would only say the city. Oh, my ex played in Miami. Oh, her husband played for Los Angeles, and things of that nature, because they didn't want the connection. So, you know, shows come together from various different aspects. Putting together a reality show often involves putting together people that may not have initially known each other, as we see, because they have better chemistry or make for a better storyline. So this is Royce's explanation of how she actually pitched and conceptualized the concept of Basketball Wives, but didn't know any better to ask for a producer's credit or any type of compensation for all of her hard work.
The show came about, Shawnee O'Neal approaches you. Did you know who the other cast members were going to be?
No, because I think at that point, I might have been the only one that she had talked about it with, because then I was introduced to Tom Huffman, who was the creator. And he started having me go to all the meetings. I was the one who pitched the show. When we went and filmed the little sizzle, I was the only cast member that went to all the stations. I was the only one that was in those meetings. Shawnee wasn't even there. It was me and Tom, yeah.
Wait, so when the show was being developed, Royce Reed, you were a part of developing the show?
Yes. I was the only cast member that went to all those meetings. I even have on my Facebook, I have a whole gallery when I was at all the stations taking pictures. Like, this is cool. Yeah, I met with all the heads. Yeah.
Were you also in the pitch meetings? And
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I did those meetings. She wasn't even there. Her best friend was there. It was me, Tom, and her best friend. Nobody else from the cast.
So throughout this pitching process, I never heard this story before.
I know.
Oh.
You wouldn't.
So, but when she's saying stations, what I really believe she means is networks, right? So, they probably did cycle through a few. And what I can say is at that time, because I was still working for a network at that time, a little bit before the show came up. As I said, I have some people that I know are friendly with that were either a part of the Basketball Wives cast or were initially contacted to be a part of the initial cast. And random fun fact, I used to blog about Basketball Wives. I would recap every episode. So much so that I caught the attention of Shed Media, who was the production company, and VH1. They used to follow my site and read my updates. And I think maybe twice, two different production teams, years apart, I got approached by producers from the show asking if I was interested in having a conversation about joining the cast, because they felt like my recaps, what I provided, and some of the inside information, that there's no way I couldn't not be involved in this world in writing that type of stuff. So that's just a random fun fact. But I say that to say they will put strangers together. Sometimes they'll know, somebody will drop a dime and say, hey, these people, there's a connection there. This used to happen. So while Royce is, acting very innocent in her role in these things, and again, I'm not saying Royce is a liar. I'm not even saying she's necessarily wrong. She is presenting, in my opinion, how she laid it out in the situation with kind of Shawnee and those situations kind of differently. You knew this woman wasn't really your friend, even though you guys were cool. But what you definitely knew is that all of the conversations and the stuff that you were putting out there was potential for use on the show. Because you yourself said initially when the early cast members linked up and came together, there wasn't a lot of chemistry there, which is why they had to recast and move around and look for different things. So just a peek behind the curtain of reality TV. I tell you what, though, she was foolish if she didn't come back. I mean, she's not the first person to kind of have that position. They went with, obviously, the woman who had the biggest name value and would be the biggest draw. We saw other versions try and do it from the, I guess, outside woman's perspective, for lack of a better term. There was Candy Girls, which was on E!, which was about video models, but a lot of those women obviously dated athletes, and some even ended up on Basketball Wives. But the reality of reality TV is sometimes you're going to have to put together some scenarios to make things work, to make them flow, because yes, it is a docuseries where it's documenting real life, but it also has to be entertaining because there's an audience behind it. Listen, there are so many other stories that we did not get a chance to get into tonight, and I'm going to hold a couple of them for tomorrow. And yes, some of them are for the after hour, the 11 o'clock hour. So I want to make sure that you are locked in and back here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Pacific time, for RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. I hope you had an amazing time tonight, that you got a little bit of information, you got a little medicine with your sugar, and you didn't mind. When we come forward on the other side, you are going to be listening to the best of KBLA. I, once again, hope you enjoyed your time tonight, VIPs. Make sure that you are back here tomorrow for more trending topics and headlines across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture with me, Jill Munroe. Until then, have an amazing night.
Ooh. Tell me when to go. 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 Ooh, Jesus Christ had dreads, so shake 'em. I ain't got none, but I'm planning on growing some. Imagine all the Hebrews going dumb, dancing on top of chariots and turning tight ones. Ooh, tell me when to go. Talking on my Getro on my way to the stop. My second or third trip. Some Henny, some Swishers, and some Listerine strips. Dr. Green Thumb lips just to ease my